What to do about whales and dolphins in captivity? What's happened in the last 5 years, really? I mean, building up for decades, but in the last 5 years, I think it's gone over the top. I think we've got to where society, certainly, Western society that has had this industry of captive whales and dolphins for entertainment for 50, 60 years, has realized that that's abuse, that that's suffering, that they're watching cruelty. And that changes everything. They don't want to go when they find that out. The packaging has always been, the bright letters, entertainment, conservation, education, family fun, come one, come all. It's, a big show. And people have just bought that, including the media, academics, politicians, judges. They've all gone along with that for all these many years. But people now, the public, there's sort of this new consensus reality that people have realized that you're just watching exploitation to the point of abuse and suffering and early death for the whales and dolphins that are forced to perform these things. So that raises the question, what do you do? Because we have many hundreds, I think more than 1,000, 1,200, 1,400 around the world, dolphins in captivity. There's now, at last count that I saw, I think 55 orcas in captivity. It's not certain because a lot of those now in the last couple of years are in Russia and China, maybe Indonesia. So they're not really forthcoming with their details, but what will we do with them? And there are many different challenges, different cases, different case histories, different biographies of each of these dolphins and whales, and where they came from, how old they are, how harmed they are. Are they mentally broken? Are they physically so much in need of daily, antibiotics and whatever care that they'll need that forever? So it's case by case. But Clive and I and many others, the Whale Sanctuary Project, Ingrid Visser in New Zealand, so many are now turning their attention to, okay, we've got to crack this nut. How do you actually put the whales and dolphins back in the ocean in some way, in some staged program where they can at least feel the ocean again, instead of just the chlorinated concrete tanks that they are now forced in. So, with that bleak introduction, I would like to introduce Clive Martin, who is working on solutions in Europe. And I don't know about this program much at all, so I am eager to hear this too. So take it away, Clive.
Okay, so good morning. Before I actually start on the screen, welcome everybody. Thank you very much for giving up part of your Sunday morning. It's great to see you. And can I just mention that if you weren't at the workshop yesterday, you missed something very good. Bad luck. It was great, but I think it's been streamed, isn't it? So people can see that.
It is. It's on YouTube now.
Okay, so that's great. So some really interesting talks that we had yesterday, and I hope to make this a little bit more, or make it interesting for you, to let you know what we're trying to do. These tend to be world first, and as Harry has just said, we've got to learn. I don't think there's any such thing as an expert in this direction of sanctuaries. There'll be people who put themselves up there, but how can they be an expert when it's really not been done? I mean, apart from Keiko. Okay? So, and I think there's some elements that need to be understood. I was talking to Rebecca last night, and I was saying that I think, as far as most animals are concerned, instinct is very strong. And the very fact that, for instance, animals have only been not force-fed, but fed dead fish, I don't see that that's a reason for them not to be able to go back to a wild state and catch their own fish. I'm absolutely certain that they and their instincts will kick in many ways and actually help themselves as we try to help them get into these sort of situations. So I represent Orca Rescues. It's my little charity. I'm a full-blown charity in the UK, and I don't just go along and pick up an orca and take it out of its tank and rescue it. Can't do that, wish I could. But what I try to do is I try to support the front line. So if I can just get a little bit of funding in, that'll help for the licensing, for getting people travelling to the right place, to attend the right sort of conferences, to attend the right sort of government meetings that are necessary for all this stuff. There's a colossal amount of planning that has to go into the background of all this sanctuary business. It takes a very long time, and I wanted to just introduce you to a little bit of it this morning. So I don't know who everybody is. I know Rebecca, I know Howie, I know various people, of course, lovely Sandra. I don't know everybody. Ma'am, you are?
Eileen Reid, I'm from Portland,
Great.
Oregon.
Harry Reid.
Diane Fuller.
Nice to meet you, Diane.
Lorraine Dorr, Bainbridge Island.
Michelle Smith.
Okay, Rebecca, I know. Hello.
Debbie.
Good. Okay. For those I missed, very good morning to you. I'm Clive Martin, in my many guises of going around the world, seeking whales and dolphins. So the stars there are where I've travelled on my researches, and I'm not just dealing with orca, I deal with all cetaceans. I'm a main presenter on some of the carnival ships. I don't know whether you've heard of P&O, but the P&O company, which is a carnival company, operate out of Southampton, and I've just started. Welcome, come on in, guys. I'm only just saying hello and good morning, so just come on in. I'll delay a couple of minutes while you get yourself settled.
There's some seats up front.
Did you pay your $20 at the door as you came in?
I'll do it on the way out.
Good answer.
Just come on in the chair there.
Thank you.
Okay. There's some chairs here, guys. You must have been comfortable. The door's locked and I'm going to be 6 hours doing this. So. Okay. Right. So, as I say there, nice to meet you. The Red Star there is an area of the Northeast Atlantic known as the Bay of Biscay. Have you heard of the Bay of Biscay?
Yeah.
It is notorious in Europe for its storms. But it should be more famous now for its cetaceans. Over a period of 15 years, I researched that area. I used what I call ships of opportunity, shops, okay? But my shop is a ship. And on those ships, we were able to consistently, on a daily basis, for 15 years, research that area, okay? And we identified 31 species to that area. Now you guys are not quite so complicated. You haven't got quite so many species here, but I deal with all species. And when I'm giving chats and presentations on the ships and anywhere else, I try to give people an idea of the world of cetaceans, other marine life as well. So I'll cover turtles, I'll cover swordfish, I'll cover manta ray, all sorts of things. Because people, when they're on ships having a great holiday, why wouldn't you want to know what you're seeing? Why wouldn't you want to know what's out there? And I then hold deck watches, so people can bring their binoculars, their cameras, annoy me with ridiculous questions, like what time will we see the dolphins? What side of the ship should I be? We're in the middle of Atlantic, so we're a bit like a needle in a haystack, so yeah, you know, just keep your eyes open and let's just have fun doing it. Get a beer, enjoy yourself. Okay. So the Bay of Biscay, notorious place, but a fabulous place as far as I'm concerned. Now, unfortunately, the ship that I used there, her name was the Pride of Bilbao, Bilbao being one of the main cities of northern Spain, of course, in the Basque country, she stopped the route, so I stopped with her. She's now gone on up to Russia, and I was left without a ship. And after a little while, I was actually quite pleased about that, because I thought I'm not going to have to answer all those daft questions for a little while, for a start. So I was able to just think about what I wanted to do. And what I love doing is telling people about marine life, in particular cetaceans. I've studied them for a lot of my life, although I'm actually a hotelier by background. I was the operations director of quite a large hotel company. And then because I had a bit of an accident, I contemplated my life. It was a bit life-changing. And I thought, wildlife, it's just got to be wildlife. That was my passion, and my passion very much associated with cetaceans. Okay, so We had the World Whale Conference not very long ago, and we had it in Durban. And in Durban, we were presented by a lovely lady called Anastasia Milieu. And she is just a lovely, lovely Greek lady. Her husband, Theodoros, doesn't speak any English, but those two people have worked so hard on this project. And that's what I'm going to be introducing you to. So this is not an accolade to me, or what we call the SEAS team. We've developed as the Sanctuary Educational and Advisory Specialists, SEAS. Okay? And we could deal with all sorts of things. I'm not a specialist. None of my colleagues are specialists, but we're specialists in little areas. Okay? Each one of us has a little area. Maybe marketing, maybe funding. We've got people within that team who are experts with dolphin captivity, strandings of dolphins, and also the movement and the logistics of moving these animals from one place to another. So we've built up a team of pretty experienced people. The word expert is a little bit difficult to use, I think. But we're having to learn the whole process as we go along. So I'm representing, I am a lifetime partner of the World Cetacean Alliance. I've just relinquished a position as the chair of trustees, simply because I've just got so much work in other directions, and it's nice to have new trustees come into organisations. I think that's a great organisation. It's still in its early days, but it's a coming together of people. We're having to learn, we're having to deal with people, we're having to deal with all sorts of issues as we go along, but we try very hard to make sure that that organisation will become a world leader as far as cetaceans are concerned and the pressures that they are under. We are just about to become a partner within the IWC, that's the International Whaling Commission. Okay, so bit by bit, this alliance of people, we're 100 partners now on all continents of the world, so that's growing. We still make mistakes, but we're trying to learn by them, and it's the first time it's ever happened, this. Okay, the coming together of everybody. Instead of everyone fighting each other for funding and being competitive and a bit precious about their data and everything else, let's work together. It's a much better way of doing it. Together and collectively, obviously your voice happens to be a lot stronger. I've introduced you to Orca Rescues Foundation. Our mission is to help the others working on the front line. So we can take a little bit of pressure. I would love to make grants of millions. I can't, because any organisation, particularly on a charitable basis, knows that the biggest problem you have is funding. You have to keep asking for money, and it's horrible. I don't like doing it, but you have to. That's the realisation of running these sort of charities. You have to get your funding in. So we try very hard to get the funding in, but we have made grants in various important areas over the 4 or 5 years that I've been operating this particular organisation, Orca Rescues Foundation. And I'm presenting to you now the Aegean Marine Life Sanctuary, which is on Lipsy Island. So, from this, I don't know whether you can see it, some of these photographs have to be taken a little bit quickly, so it's a little bit blurry, but there you see the 4 dolphins that I'm going to be talking to you about. 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? Now, let me not misrepresent, that is not exactly what they live in. They live in a tank, which is approximately the size of this room. Okay, that is what they're living in, and it's 4 dolphins. They're bottlenose dolphin. It's quite a chunky dolphin. Yesterday I gathered that occasionally you do see the bottlenose dolphin here, but it's one of the largest of the dolphin species, about 13 foot in length, and of course everybody knows it as flipper. So these are the bottlenose dolphins, and primarily it's this dolphin species which has been captured and enslaved in this sort of way. So, what would you prefer? There you go. Okay, so that is the sanctuary. Okay, it is on the island of Lipsy. I don't know whether you know the Aegean Sea, but it's a small world these days, so you can go Google it up. And that is a phase 1 area. Okay, we're not able to show you the complete sanctuary, but there's a little bit around the corner again. And then as we grow this whole scheme and project, on another island, we have the plans for yet another sanctuary. Because as Howie was demonstrating just now, this is not just 4 dolphins. There's another 2 associated with these, which are in a different location, which we want to get there as well. And we think the whole thing will grow, providing we can set the gold standard with everybody's help, because that's an absolute necessity. We don't want to take dolphins out of a captive situation and have them die on us, for instance. Naturally, of course, everybody has to go. But we want to make sure that we give them the very, very best, that people cannot point fingers us saying, we told you so, okay? We told you they should live in these tanks for the rest of their lives. We're saying rot, rubbish. That is not going to be the case. We're going to try to make this work. So we have the sanctuary, we have the building, there you see it in the corner. We have extended areas as well. We've got a maximum depth in there of 70 feet, which when you've been used to 10 feet in a blue painted tank. Why do they always paint them blue? Just looks nice from our point of view, doesn't it? Makes it look nice. If it was stark white, I mean, I don't know why they don't paint a few crabs on the walls or something, try and help the situation, but you know, they don't, do they? So those animals have no habitat, no natural habitat at all. This has all of it. This is a natural habitat. It has its rocks, it has its crabs, it has its sand, it has its tides, it has beautiful fresh seawater. Okay, so it's a fantastic area. So there we go, there's the island of Samos. It's one of the bigger islands, but you can orientate to it because I'm sure you've heard of Rhodes. Okay, the island of Kos, and I pointed out to Harry this morning, we hope to hold, possibly on Kos, not necessarily confirmed at the moment, October of this year, the very first symposium and conference for people who are dealing with sanctuaries. Okay, because this is the way forward. We've been shouting about it for a long time. We've got to get them out. Where do we put them? Okay, so this is the answer to it. It has to be in these, what people sometimes call sea pen. I think from what you saw of that photograph, it's not a pen, it's a beautiful sea lagoon. Okay, and that is established. So there's the little island of Lipsy. You can just see it up there. And Verulia Bay, my Greek is not too brilliant, but I believe it's pronounced as Verulia Bay, was that photograph that I showed you just now. Okay, so the Aegean Marine Life Sanctuary. Now this sanctuary has been going in project for about 7 years. And it's not just a sanctuary for released dolphins. It will be a sanctuary for stranded dolphins that need rehabilitation. Maybe other sea creatures as well. So the monk seal. I had the most incredible experience with one of the rarest of the seals on the planet called the monk seal in the Mediterranean. They're very, very few, but one, I happened to be standing at a harbour, literally came right alongside me at approximately 90 miles an hour as it chased a huge fish. So it was a great sight. Now occasionally those animals strand. Occasionally they've got trauma on their bodies, they need looking after. So this particular sanctuary will serve dual purposes, if you like, as well. So it would be for wild, stranded, animals that need rehabilitation. So, and it is that already, okay? Providing we can just finish it off. We have the sanctuary, we have the building. What we don't have is the infrastructure within the building. So we would be building, for instance, first-class gold standard veterinary clinics. So these animals will be looked after, full-time, 24 hours, 7/7. Okay, so they will have veterinary nursing capabilities. We already have the head vet in situ, because he is already part of the Aegean Marine Life Sanctuary. So we've got a good start on this, okay, which others don't necessarily have. So when we say we're looking for funding, my funding requirement at the moment, I think, it sounds a lot of money, but in global terms it's actually very little. It's $600,000. Now that's not bad, is it? If you think on world terms, if, you know, a few hundred people gave 10 quid, bucks, sorry, when in Rome, it would be easy, okay? That's what we're trying to do. Okay, because we need just to finish off this infrastructure, and then we're going to have a really good template. We're going to have the ups, we're going to have the downs, but we're going to get a really good template of where we get it wrong, where we get it right, how we can improve the whole situation. Because we hope that in the process of time, it won't just be dolphins, but we have to remember that the orca, the whale killer, the killer whale, is the largest of the dolphin family. Okay, I'm sure you're aware of that anyway. Okay, so this is all the same plan for these animals. Okay, some might have to be a bit bigger, some might have to be in slightly colder water. This is obviously Mediterranean water here. So the Aegean Marine Life Sanctuary. Okay, now the little animals that we're talking about, the four bottlenose, Anak Tume Blau Nuik, okay, starred in blue there, they're the ones that are currently in Barcelona Zoo. Now I had hoped that when I came to present to you, will somebody ring the bell for me? Okay, I'm conscious that I'm going to yap on for ages, so when I'm near Harry's time, kick me or whatever. Okay,
You'll get plenty of
we're okay. Fine, good. Okay, so Barcelona Zoo is where these animals are currently housed. Now, the great thing is, and I'm sure you've been well aware, there's been a lot of trouble in the municipality of Barcelona. You probably read about it. There's been riots. They want to leave Spain as such. They're great people. Catalonian people, and they don't want this. Like so many of us, they don't want this captivity. Okay, and they have spoken, and they have decided they do not any longer wish to keep these dolphins in captivity. Now, great accolade. So for me, I give a great round of applause to Barcelona. Fantastic, they've made that decision, and others need to make similar decisions. So what they had was a situation whereby, do we spend a lot of money in improving the facilities in which these dolphins are housed? But what's the point of that? It doesn't make any sense, it's nonsensical, and then actually the people don't want them in captivity at all. So we can save the municipality a lot of money by not having to rebuild all these facilities. We're going to rehome them. And that's the stage we're at the moment. Now, I had hoped that when I came here, I could really give you an earthquake announcement. Unfortunately, I cannot, because some of these things are delayed. It happens, it's one of those things, but because of the municipality problems, that's given them a bit of a headache, so we're just pushed back a little bit. And I now am told, just an email a couple of days ago, that the decision will be made. We are pretty sure it's going to be in the favour of the sanctuary. There is an alternative, which is again putting them back into another captivity institute. So, we're fairly, well, we've actually been unofficially tipped that we're okay, that we're there, but it's not official. So I need to make that very clear. We don't want to do anything that's going to overshadow decisions that municipalities might have to make. We want to work with them, okay, not against them in any way, shape or form. So I can't positively say that this is going to happen, but we are expecting the imminent release of these dolphins. I hope to this fantastic. What would you prefer? It's a no-brainer, isn't it? It's an absolute no-brainer. So these guys, the other two, Cooney and Leah, the females, by the way, Anik ringed, Leah also ringed. Now these two dolphins in the red square started to become and display behavioural problems within the zoo facility, as often happens. You've seen it with, you know, the different, with transients being put in with residents because people didn't know what they were doing, killing each other literally, as they have done, and so very aggressive behaviour was demonstrated by these two. So they're currently living a much more quiet life, and they're not bullying the blue stars anymore, but we also hope that we will be able to work with those two dolphins as well, because we need to understand more about the interaction between the animals themselves. But the sanctuary itself would have areas that could be penned to make sure that damage doesn't occur to them. So they're introduced to each other on a very casual, slow, organic way. Or maybe not at all, we don't know. That's the observations that we have to undertake and to make sure that we get it right. So this is sort of the general area, just a few little pickies. Beautiful area, I don't know, anyone been to Greece? No, it's a great place to go to. Okay, it's you get some super weather there. People are incredibly friendly. Great food, great beer. Great holiday.
Good ouzo.
What?
Good ouzo.
Yeah, good ouzo. Yes, I brought a bottle of that back with me actually. Yeah. Okay, so just some generalised shots here of it. This is the lagoon, top left from the building. Okay, again top right. That bottom left is the approach. So that area there is the tip of the lagoon going right in there, and then we have another section there, and then on another island, an island called Leros, we have the possibilities of expanding the whole project as well. So just some generalised shots, but there you go. Look at the beautiful blue Aegean water. It doesn't show fabulously here, but it is fabulous when you go there. You can see the fish swimming there. It's so clear. It's so beautiful. And boy, if I was a Barcelona dolphin, I would just be yelling to get out here. I really would. I think you'll agree that as a location, as a venue, it's actually first class. Now, liquid boundaries. I don't like talking about nets because nets still sort of imply that they're still in captivity, which I suppose you could say, yes, they will be. Will we be able to release them to the wild? We don't know. We're going to have to wait and see. But that would be an intention. Who knows? We might be able to do that. But what we want to ensure is that they come from their rotten facilities at the moment into much better ones. So we call it a liquid boundary. It costs $60,000 to buy that net. It's not a net, it's a copper alloy. And the reason we use the copper alloy is because it doesn't foul up. If you used an ordinary net, then the flow of water, this lovely fresh flow of water, will be impeded by all the algae and the seaweed growth on it. This doesn't, okay? We are told 100% safe, okay? It's a nickel alloy, sorry, it's a copper alloy, okay? I think pure copper would not be good, but a copper alloy is fine. So we get the right sea flows in there. It is actually a lovely photograph. Can't see much of it, unfortunately, it's just the light. But a lot of fish, and then the dolphins themselves would be behind this particular liquid boundary, as we call it. Oh, right, what's that? Right, I don't know, didn't know it was going to do that. We had a twirl. It was quite good, that, wasn't it? I just do to all of them. Right, unfortunately it's the light coming in there is not helping because this particular slide, I want to show you what the likelihood is for the phased introduction. If you can imagine yourselves, and we may be wrong, may be right, if you can imagine yourselves in a captive situation for many, many years and you suddenly are released to this huge expanse of beautiful water, it's considered by the experts that they could suffer quite a lot of stress. So it's going to be a phased introduction. So bit by bit, the liquid boundary, if you like, will be moved back to allow them to get used to this on a gentle phased basis, as opposed just to plonking them in there. So what we would imagine, red line, you see it? Someone say yes?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, right. So that would be sort of the first phase, if you like, where that liquid boundary would be placed. And, oh, here we go. And the 4 dolphins. Very excited to be here, jumping around. Okay, well, right, so that would be first phase, if you like. And then we would observe veterinary reports. All these animals, by the way, I haven't mentioned this so far, are in a very, very poor state of health. Okay, we have all the veterinary reports, I'm not going to go that direction, but they are in a very poor state of health. A lot of severe dental problems, which is quite normal for captive cetaceans. Well, it's not normal, but these stereotypies occur, the unusual behaviours occur as well. So this is what we've got to deal with. But they are not in good health, and we would suspect that one might actually not make it. We hope they will. I'm going to stop and pause because I don't want to finish and then find that Howie's struggled up here and gets it in place when I finished. Is it going to work?
Maybe
Yeah, I'll just wait a minute.
if I can just reach.
Coffee break.
Question break.
You're lucky.
Question?
Yeah, sure.
So, with that chain, can fish come in on a regular basis from the outside?
Yes, but the intention is that we will get live fish, okay, from the local fishermen. That's already been
So you'll
organised.
stock it, so to
Yes,
speak.
yeah, we would have storage for them.
Okay.
Okay, so if we've got any fish lovers here, I don't know quite how to overcome this one. It's a bit difficult, isn't it? Yeah. We haven't got the chips ready, but we've definitely got the live fish ready.
But that means things that might be harmful won't get in either. Things
The-
that might be harmful won't get in either with the chains.
It's a natural habitat.
Yeah.
Dolphins should be able to deal with it.
Right.
I mean, what we're conscious of course, is disease from a wild dolphin to the wild. So before they actually go into this, they will go into quarantine tanks. Yeah. Okay. Trying to think of everything here, so that the quarantine process will be the first stage, if you like, prior to actually release in the first stage of the actual lagoon. Okay.
I'm curious about the politics a little bit. If I'm correct, the corporation that owns the Miami Seaquarium is headquartered in Spain, something like Parques Reunidas
Yeah.
or something.
It's very complicated. Very
Corporation that owns this facility?
No,
Oh, okay.
absolutely not true.
SeaWorld.
Totally
is that
independent.
one?
Okay.
This is totally independent.
Well-
This, to a certain extent, Archipelagos has quite a lot of Greek funding, Greek government funding, to exist and to do the work that they do on fish research. It's not just cetaceans, they're doing a lot of work in a lot of other fisheries directions. So this is a part government funded. It has absolutely nothing to do with any entertainment, captivity, institution at all. Not at all, okay? You're quite wise to bring up the word politics, okay? Because it's everywhere. It's everywhere. You know, we wish it weren't, but I know Howard suffers the same thing as we do, and we don't really understand it because there's no reason why we should understand why other people working in similar scenarios wish to be political about it and non-helpful about it. But this happens. I think it's within the scientific environment, people are used to competing for funding and so on and so forth, so they're going to be precious about what they're going to divulge, about how they're going to operate. We're not like that. We're just going to do this. We're going to do it. We've been talking about it for too long. We're going to do it. Okay, so that's our attitude on it. But we wish to do it to the very highest standard, okay, as we possibly can. But there will be no affiliation to any entertainment facility. Okay, so there we go. So that will be the first phase, and then little by little, here we come, getting more and more excited now as they advance into the deeper parts. That's good, isn't it? Yeah. I'd be excited as well. I would be excited as well. So that's roughly as well.
Spinner dolphin.
No, those are bottlenose. You can see
Spinning.
Well, we haven't got spinners there. But yeah. Okay, so bless the great Greek people. Okay, and their lovely flag, and that's another area. That's sort of the second phase area around the corner there. So I think that we've got the venue here right. Thanks to the work of Archipelagos, we've got this right. Anastasia and her husband Theodoros, he is actually the driving force. He doesn't speak a word of English, so bless him, he's always in the background, but he's the guy I go and hug. He's the guy that I go to the bar and make sure I buy him a beer, because he and his forethought, much like other people who are trying to accomplish these things, he's done the legwork. He's gone out there. He's got the permissions for this lagoon. He's managed to get the lease for the building. So he's really done the hard work. Okay, so now we've got to finish it off. And this is absolutely critical. Okay, we've got to finish this off. Okay, so I'm not here to try and get funds from you guys, not at all, I promise you that, okay, because you've got funds that are needed in other directions closer to home. I appreciate that, but I need to get out to the world. So I would ask you, follow the Orca Rescues Foundation Facebook, if you do Facebook. We try to keep you up to speed with what's happening with the sanctuary. We also report on great things that Howard's doing and other people. I have long associations with a lot of very big names. Dr. Ingrid Visser, I know very well. I've supported her with grants. Laurie Marino, Naomi West, these are all names you probably know, or don't want to know in some cases. But there we go. Let's all work together. Okay, that would be my creed on this. We really do need to do this. Okay, so the Greek people really putting their money where their mouths are, and we have got ourselves a really first-class sanctuary. Getting to it is extremely difficult. Okay. But we've actually got the Greek army. They are going to build and remetal this road for us. So that's another expense dealt with. It would be a massive, massive expense otherwise. So we're getting everybody's help, and it's becoming very much not just the community of Lipsy who are absolutely so excited about this. It will help their economy because there's going to be a lot of scientific work going on. Initially, we are dealing with the dolphins and their welfare. We are not dealing with the welfare of people who want to go and see them. Okay, so second phase, we may bring in viewing possibilities. Certainly we'll be thinking about webcams from the word go, because these are the people who have supported us. They're the people who have every right to know about it. But the first thing we tell everybody is we're not going to allow them access if it's likely to be in any way, shape or form harmful to the dolphins. We're trying to get them back into a near wild situation if we possibly can. So there you go, we've got the Greek army building us roads as well. It's one heck of a ride down there, I tell you. That little bit doesn't look steep, but it goes like that. So it's really difficult. Even 4-track vehicles have a struggle getting up and down. So that's another element that's had to be taken into account. That's the building. Looks a bit rusty in places. It's actually a very substantial building. And some interior shots that I took, so it's got some very large areas that will become the veterinary clinics, that will become the accommodations for the people who have to live and work there. There will be educational facilities for incoming scientists, incoming veterinarian students and full-time veterinarian people who wish to specialise in this sort of treatment, or the treatment towards cetacean. So lots of little crooks and crannies. That's Anastasia there. Anyone know Patty Sullivan? Patty? And Daniel Turner. Because I mentioned him to you, Harry. Right. So part of the SEAS team. Sanctuary, Educational and Advisory Specialists. Okay? SEAS. So you'll start to see our logos being produced as well. So we're David Schofield. Ring a bell? Okay, from Hawaii. Done a lot of work here. This is David here. He's done a lot of work with transportation of captive animals, etc. So he is quite a well-known specialist. And he's very much part of the team. And what we have to do, of course, when you're doing this sort of project, he's in Hawaii. How does he get all the way over to Greece? Money's needed. Okay, so that's where I try to step in with Orca Rescues. It's only a small contribution, but it's a contribution that will help because we can actually get in there as we're doing the final thrusts of talks with the municipality, which are taking place imminently again. Okay, so all this sort of stuff. That wasn't bird strike, was it? No. Okay, so all these sort of things. But what we've got here is an area that can really be restructured and can provide us with what's needed. Also, we're even starting to put in the loos, look, you can see. We've got the toilet facilities going in. Internet was being put in whilst I was there. These are all the sort of things you need. You know, you're going to need boats with engines, or, you know, and they've got to be very quiet engines, so there'll probably be little electric engines so that we don't go around disturbing the dolphins. All these sort of things we're wanting to think of. The refrigeration requirements. Maybe operating facilities for animals, depending on what traumas or what illnesses they get. Let's hope we can get them improved, but it's possible that those sort of facilities might be needed. So that's very much part of the SEAS team. That's the mayor of Lipsy here, this gentleman here, can't pronounce his name, impossible. But great guy. And then you have Anastasia, main girl, main man, and the rest of us there. Joining in to really give as much impetus, as much help as we possibly can and advice to those two lovely people. The projection of how it might look, a little bit difficult here with this sort of thing, but it's basically that building that I showed you, structured into its accommodation, into its veterinary clinics, into its nursing areas, education areas. It's quite a tall building, so we can have a split level at the top for accommodations for students who have to remain there year round on a daily basis. So I think we've got it pretty well sorted out structurally, and the planning is good. But these are all the sort of things that you might not have thought of when you think about a sanctuary. It's not just a question of taking an animal or a cetacean out of its captivity tank, picking it up with a crane in a sling. Even the slings have got to be thought of properly, okay? And you just dump it there and think, well, okay, off you go. That's Keiko, isn't it, really? Okay, we've got to do better than that. We've got to make sure these animals survive it. And we create, as I've said before, the template for the future. Okay, there's a little team at work, and as that says, just a little bit of an overview, and thanks very much indeed for listening. If anyone's got any questions, you're very welcome. Thank you. I don't know if you want to ask a few more questions, have you got anything? I will try to answer.
I have a couple.
Yeah.
So first, is anybody familiar with the 4 dolphins at the Barcelona Zoo's origins? Were they born in captivity? Were they taken from?
Yeah, we have all that
place?
history. Yes,
Okay.
I have it all written down as well, and I might be able to show you that. But Anik was one of the original ones. She's the female. She's given birth to several that have been born in captivity. Okay, she was captured in the Caribbean area, so actually she's probably in the right sort of water temperature for release. As far as she is concerned, having come from a very similar sort of water temperature, which we're thinking should be quite important to take into consideration. So some wild caught, and the majority are captive bred.
So my second question then is, obviously when they first come to the sanctuary, they'll be wholly dependent for care, but are there plans to graduate them out to, say, feed on live prey instead of hand feeding, to move farther and farther away from the daily human dependence?
We've actually done a complete paper on exactly that subject to get them away from hand feeding, because obviously that's been the case, and they're only hand fed basically these days if they do the trick that they are required to do. Okay, so we've got to get away from all that and to put them back into this near wild situation if we possibly can. So all that is taken into account. With them will come their current carers. Okay, they're not necessarily misguided people. They actually love those animals. They're so devoted to them, but they tended to have lost sight of the bigger plan sometimes. And I was talking to some. I went to Bermuda not long ago. Somebody has to do this work, and I was talking to the staff there. Okay, lovely guys and girls, and they all love their dolphins, but each and every one of them said to me, no, this is the place for them, this is where they live best of all. They couldn't see it, they just couldn't see it. Or were they, basically just being blind to this, and saying this when actually they knew damn well that the dolphins are going to be better off somewhere other than these ghastly tanks. So it's a very difficult one. But the carers will come with them. So we want to, from the very word go, these animals are going to be supported where possible, because those carers are going to be important. They will know them, they will trust them to a certain extent, and so they will accompany them. And that's why we will have the accommodation built, so that they will be able to literally reside on site. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I'm just thinking, bringing the carers along, they could become fantastic ambassadors once they leave that area. If things go well and they can see that their dolphins are thriving in this new environment,
Yep.
they can share that word throughout their community of people who do similar type situations.
That's absolutely true, of course, and it's happening. It happens today. I mean, if I mention John Hargrove, for instance, an ex-trainer, there are several of them who have turned out to be really good ambassadors against the captivity institutes. So they've seen the light, if you like. They probably did, but it was a job. You have to appreciate. They have families. They have mortgages to pay. They probably love the association with the dolphins, and so they will just blind themselves to the rest of the stuff that goes on, which is pretty bad. And they haven't always been told the truth, and that angered them. That angered them a lot. I mean, Dawn Branshaw was never told that Tilly was basically a dangerous animal. Okay, she was never told that. That's bad. That's not looking after your staff. Okay, so my particular trust in these organisations, probably like yours, doesn't go very far. Doesn't go very far at all. I think they're a bunch of liars. Actually, I'll go even stronger. Even stronger. Yeah. So.
Is that paper you talked about, is that public?
No, it will be.
Right.
It will be. Now, I just want to re-emphasise this, okay? I would love to have come here and said, we've got them. I had hoped that would occur whilst I was even here. It hasn't. I'm now being told we've got a delay until February, when a further meeting is going to take place with the Barcelona communities. We have been, I've mentioned this already, but just so everyone's clear on it, we have been given the nod. They're coming in our direction. But that's not official, and I don't want to do anything that is going to upset that process by suddenly announcing to the world that we've got the dolphins when in fact we haven't, okay, because that might just put some spanners in the works. So I'm using the term, we are expecting imminent release to us. We are expecting imminent release. It might not occur, but that's still going to be a sea sanctuary. Okay, for dolphins that need rehabilitation, injured green turtle, loggerhead turtle there as well, the monk seal. So whichever way it goes, it's a win, but it could be a win-win. Okay, so yeah, but you're absolutely right on ambassadorial roles that so many people can play. We all play those roles. You know, you wouldn't be here now. You would be the first people to be ambassadors and tell your families, you know, if you're going to go to Florida, don't go there. You know, don't buy a ticket. So, yeah.
Have there been any laws or regulations passed in Barcelona to limit that, to sort of help the process along?
No, as opposed to, or rather, as is usual with most bureaucracies, it's there, and we have to deal with it. So again, what we're trying to do as a SEAS team is to take off the pressures from Anastasia as the head of Archipelagos, to give her the chance to deal with all the licensing that has to take place to actually move these dolphins, because it will be from one country to another, so CITES will come into it, and such things.
But nothing has been mandated from the city of Barcelona yet to help to say these dolphins should go somewhere else, or
That is the case.
Yes.
That is the case.
Right.
They are definitely, there's two options, okay,
Right.
that are on the table, fully understood by the Barcelona municipality. Okay, which ones are they going to go to? Are they going to go back into a captive situation,
Oh, okay.
or are they going to come to this sanctuary?
Yes, good.
That's what it is. So we've got that far.
Right.
Okay, so and we're now. Yeah, I was, like I said, days away now. Okay, another little delay. You go so far up the ladder and you come back down again, then you go up a little bit higher, and we'll probably come back down again. But we're going to get there. This sanctuary is going to occur. It's already occurred. It's there, but not for captive animals at the moment. So I don't want anyone leaving here saying, "Oh, that was good. That bloke from the UK came over here saying we've got the dolphins are going to go into a sanctuary." That is not the case. We really hope it will be, and I'm sure that will occur. But I've been disappointed so many times, and I know Howie has, with all his dealings with Toki. I mean, an animal. If we can't release Tokitai, what animal can we release? Everything is in her favour. I will be representing, my team will be representing what's going on in Holland with regard to Morgan. Morgan, anyone know about Morgan? Yeah? Okay. Would you like me to just give you a brief? How am I doing for time?
Yeah, I'm very flexible.
2 minutes.
So, yeah.
2 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Morgan, little female, washed up, stranded, life stranded, on the beaches in Holland. Okay, she was immediately put in the Hardwick Aquarium for rehabilitation, under license by the Dutch government that she would not ever finish up in an entertainment facility. Where is she now? She's in an entertainment facility. Okay, so that's another animal that should not actually be in captivity. The excuse being used by Loro Parque, who are the institute that have her captive on the island of Tenerife, they say she's deaf, and therefore she would not survive in the wild. Have you ever heard such rubbish? Is that the best excuse they can come up with? I mean, I'm sure there's some people in here who are hard of hearing. We're all walking around, for God's sakes. We can all eat. You know, so that's pathetic. It's pathetic. And anyway, if you observe these animals, you'll know that you get sometimes some genetically seriously malformed animals, but their tribe, their group, their pod actually looks after them and actually helps feed them. Okay, and that happens. So the fact that she's there against her own government's wishes, the Dutch government, that she wouldn't go to a captive. Who was in the background? You got it, SW. They were there. And I found that out because they were denying it. Because I have a very good friend in Spain who's quite a high-ranking accountant. And he got me the accounts of Loro Parque. Quite clearly how much they paid for the hire of that animal. So, and I think they've now admitted it's connected. So, but yeah, there we go.
Okay, one question from Sandra.
Yeah, thank you. Clive, you mentioned about Keiko being sort of just dropped in the ocean. I would really like some clarification from Howie on that,
Right.
who's involved in
Yeah.
that project.
Well, I certainly watched it close. Well, oh, sure.
Yeah. I'll finish.
Okay.
That's a good spot for me to
All
finish
right,
up.
we're segueing
Yeah, yeah,
now
yeah, yeah.
into my talk.
So,
But we will have an intermission here while we
Okay.
plug in. And there is a bathroom, loo, restroom, whatever is your language, there is one available.
Anyway, thank you for listening. Thanks.
Well, essentially, I think that's pretty much right, because they never found Keiko's family. They didn't do the field work, which would have taken years and maybe millions, I don't know, but quite a bit of money to, and they had that money actually in the beginning of the project, to do the field study, to photo ID and get acoustic recordings and DNA and locate the family so that they could find them again, so that when they did bring Keiko up to Iceland, they could have put him in their proximity. There are roughly, and they're still not very completely photo ID, there have been studies, but they estimate around 400 or so orcas around Iceland, depending on time of year. And he came in contact with, best guess I've heard is about 100. So, 25% chance that he came anywhere near his natural line. We don't know if his mother was still alive, could have been, probably was, because he wasn't that old. So, his mother was probably swimming on the other side of Iceland when he ran into the others, and they just let him go to, get adopted, and he wasn't going to get adopted. They don't do that. That's not, they didn't have that understanding. And my sense is that the entire project crew was hired from the marine park industry, and that's kind of logical, especially from the sort of the corporate leadership of the whole project, because those were the experts, the ones with the experience, but they did not even consult a field researcher. They didn't even talk to either, Ken Balcom, who, had already designed a complete return to the ocean and family project that was rejected for Keiko, but not even, John Ford or Ingrid or any of the known field researchers. They never gave him a call. Except for how to attach a radio tag, a little bit of expert help on, that part of it, but not on how do we get him most successfully back integrated into his family. They didn't even know about families. They didn't understand the family bonds of orcas. Jill, or did somebody say something?
Was it Dr. Naomi Rosenwald, though?
Nominally, but not until the very end in effect. I mean, actually, no, she was not. She was an employee of Humane Society of the U.S., and they contributed, as I understood, $1 million to the project, but they didn't ask her what to do. And Naomi's very conservative, I have to say. She would have been very careful not to contradict and raise a stir, and she would have been a lone voice if she had said that. So anyway, they didn't do it. They just basically, it was in stages, in the sea pen, then in the cove, and then on ocean walks, and then he went for his own walk across the Atlantic, and he had access to the whole North Atlantic, but he didn't know where to find his family, and so he was alone in the ocean, basically, when he died. Okay, well, as I say, we're going to have an intermission here while we reconnect and start over with the Toki campaign.